after Rudy Giuliani's bluff was called by the judge, we have his response. So let's take a look into it. If you don't know the backstory, I have a video on his bluff being called. Let's see what Rudy has to say. I reside in Florida. I am 80 years old and suffer from a number of medical conditions. These include severe knee conditions, one which involves a knee that has already been the subject of emergency surgery, and the other that will require surgery and rehab, as well as a lung condition that requires the use of an inhaler. I have 2 stents inserted to deal with a 95% blockage in one coronary artery and an 85% blockage in the other coronary artery. I take medication for my heart condition and carry nitroglycerin with me at all times. Air travel is not impossible, but should be done only if necessary. But if there is an alternative, that is better for my health. And then we get into the fun part. I receive death threats. In the last few years, there were 2 plotted attempts on my life that led to prosecutions, one in France and one in Albania. So I looked into this as best as I could, and I do not actually agree with Rudy Giuliani's framing of this at all. And I think he's hoping most people won't look into it. So last time, Rudy Giuliani cited a 2022 article from Yahoo that had absolutely nothing to do with threats against Rudy. This time, he cited a 2018 Fox article and a 2021 BBC article that does mention Rudy. And from reading through it, as just one quick pass through reading the articles, it appears both are about rallies for an Iranian opposition party that was being targeted for an attack. And Rudy Giuliani just happened to attend that rally. This would be, for example, this would be the same thing as, for example, if Rudy Giuliani were to have attended the Boston Marathon and then tried to act as if the Boston Bombers were specifically targeting Rudy Giuliani. He went to a foreign country and happened to be at a rally for a foreign political party that was targeted because it was a foreign political rally, and therefore Rudy Giuliani doesn't want to appear in court for his own contempt proceedings. Yeah, that's where we're at here. It makes absolutely no sense, and it's so dangerous for Rudy, but don't worry, he's found a solution suddenly. As a result, I consult with a former New York police commissioner regarding my personal safety, and when necessary, travel with security. Since the recent events in New Orleans and Las Vegas, and with the intensifying conflict between Israel and Iran and its proxies, I have been advised to be particularly careful in general, and of course, when I travel. Again, he's citing things that have absolutely nothing to do with him. They're not targeting Rudy. The guy in Las Vegas very vocally in his messaging was pro-Trump. He did that because he thought it would rally people behind Trump. And then the New Orleans guy, he was just going to go off and kill his own family and decide to do that instead. Rudy isn't the target. But let's continue. That is not to say that I cannot travel. I travel for my court appearances, for work. Now, work, I believe in this case, is him doing his podcast. That's all I know he does. And for certain important personal matters. However, my health and safety concerns make travel burdensome and expensive. Since December 9th, 2024, I have traveled twice. Once for a few days around Christmas to spend the holiday at the personal residence of close personal friends, and once for a court appearance in the Southern District of New York, at which a motion for remote appearance was initially denied, then subsequently granted. It currently appears that I'll be required to appear in person for trial in New York and the New York matter identified above, starting on January 16th, 2025, which if you haven't been following, Rudy has been trying to change that date. And I believe he's been trying to change that date for the same reason he's not wanting to appear in court in person. If it concludes before January 20th, I may travel to Washington, D.C. on the way home from Florida for the inauguration of President Trump, which will be a once-in-a-lifetime event in which I cannot participate by Zoom and for which there will be heightened security. So, Rudy Giuliani, after claiming all sorts of incidents that don't involve him make it dangerous, he now wants to go to the inauguration of Donald Trump. That's what this was all about, in my opinion. And when he says, I cannot participate by Zoom, he can watch it from his phone. But he believes that he deserves to be there, as we've seen in previous court filings. He has tried things like claiming that he couldn't. He's filed pro se after his own lawyer turned against him, saying he can't find a new lawyer, partly because the judge is too biased against Trump. Like, Rudy has been doing this for a while, and I believe every single action he's taking right now, the only goal is to go to the inauguration. Which I think the plan was for his contempt, for the hearing for his contempt. I think his plan was to try to extend it out and say, oh, I can't appear because of, my health and my safety, and then he would appear remote and then go to the inauguration. I think that's what he wanted to do, and he's not getting that permission by the judge. And also, when he says it concludes before January 20th, I'm going to be honest, I don't think it will, because, and maybe I'm wrong, someone can tell me, I don't think the plaintiffs are going to want it to end before that. I would not be shocked if they ask their lawyer to do everything he can to drag it out so that Rudy can't go to that inauguration, because Rudy thinks Rudy should always get to do whatever he wants, even when he's being found in contempt in court when he's not paying people the money he owes them for defamation. Rudy still thinks he's a step above. But let's continue. I did not represent that I do not travel or cannot travel, but that travel carries medical and security risk, as well as the risk set forth in paragraph 1 and 2 above make clear, and that there was therefore a compelling basis for my remote appearance. Now, what's interesting is Rudy, one of the things he didn't turn over was travel details. And in his lawyer's argument about why it shouldn't matter or whatever was basically like, for example, when he goes to the doctor, the plaintiffs are arguing that Rudy doesn't actually live in Florida. He's been living in New York, claiming he lives in Florida so that he can keep this property in Florida, which is where he's at right now, or at least says that's where he's at. And his lawyer was arguing that just if Rudy has had medical appointments in New York physically doesn't mean that he didn't just travel to New York just to do the appointment. But now this is saying that it's so dangerous he can't do that, but his lawyer was using that as a hypothetical just days ago. As I said, I think Rudy is throwing everything away to try to get to this inauguration, and he doesn't care about anything else. He doesn't care about how this case ends. He maybe even thinks that if he goes to the inauguration and talks in person to Donald Trump, that Donald Trump will somehow save him. I had hoped the court would understand and accommodate my needs. However, it appears I was mistaken, because it is difficult to cancel my 2 evening broadcasting commitments and last-minute travel arrangements are uncertain. I have decided to withdraw my motion to appear virtually and be physically present for tomorrow's hearing. Because it is difficult to cancel my 2 evening broadcasting commitments. Was Rudy Giuliani here? Did he just admit that he's planning to travel already for broadcasting stuff, for podcasts, is what they're podcasts. Well, isn't that interesting? Didn't we just go through a whole document about how everything is so dangerous and he's got to limit travel? And he's like, but I got to go for a podcast. Which the plaintiffs, part of their argument that he lives in New York is the fact that he was doing the podcast there. So yeah, that's the update on Rudy. He's just throwing everything at the wall and hoping something sticks, and it didn't. Do I think this is the last thing he'll try? Absolutely not. I would not be shocked that if push comes to shove and it comes to the point of either he can go to trial or he can go to this inauguration, Rudy is going to miss court. That is my assumption. That's how I feel. That's what I think he's going to do personally. What do you think? Let me know. Also, if you maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't, I did get a new headset because mine finally broke. This was the old one here. You probably noticed for a while, this is like super glue holding this together, and it fell apart, and I had to go and find the time to go get a headset this morning, and with storms and all that, the pain. So yeah, got a new headset though. I don't remember if I don't know if I mentioned it anywhere on the channel or not. I was going to if I couldn't get it fixed, because obviously if I have no headphones, I can't listen to things to cover a lot. But that should be good. These headphones appear to be working, and should be ready to go. But I wish they were a different brand and a different type, but beggars can't be choosers. I needed something. Now, right now, the plan is still Lori Daybell. I'm still deciding on how I want to cover that. I was actually getting like tabs open last night for like Lori Daybell. I was getting tabs open to be able to like listen to stuff, and I was thinking about going ahead reading up until her police interview and then doing like a live first listen to that. And my headset broke while I was setting things up. I had music playing, and all of a sudden, no sound. So those tabs got closed, and I'll reopen them and whatever, but I don't know when I'll get around to that. It might be this weekend, maybe. I'll try to get something either with that, or I mean, if other things, like if Rudy Giuliani does some crazy stuff tomorrow, if he does crazy stuff tomorrow, that'll probably be covered instead. If not, I might try to find the time to like do an initial Lori Daybell video, just to test it out and see if I like the way I'm handling it or not. And then move on from there and just try to work through some stuff like that. Just not sure how I want to cover that still. And because I'm so unsure, I don't want to like commit and then absolutely hate the way it came out. That's kind of where I'm at. But I'm at the point where I just got to sit down and do it, try it, and iterate on top of it.